Strawberry Tart. This is probably the most recognized fruit tart in the world, and for good reason. The strawberry has a natural brightness that works beautifully against the richness of pastry cream. The base is usually a classic pâte sucrée, a buttery, slightly sweet short crust that holds its shape without crumbling apart. Inside sits a thick layer of crème pâtissière, smooth and vanilla-scented, and on top, fresh strawberries are arranged carefully, often halved or left whole. A glaze made from heated apricot jam, or a neutral gel, is brushed over the fruit to give it that glossy finish you see in bakery windows. The combination of textures is what makes it work so well. Crisp pastry, silky cream, and soft fruit all in one bite. Lemon tart. This one is simpler in construction, but far more demanding in balance. There is no pastry cream here. Instead, the filling is a lemon curd baked directly into the shell. A mixture of eggs, sugar, butter, and a generous amount of lemon juice that sets into something firm yet soft, with a texture somewhere between a custard and a mousse. When made well, it should be intensely tart, but with enough sweetness to stop just short of uncomfortable. The French version, called tarte au citron, sometimes comes topped with meringue, piped and torched, which adds a contrasting sweetness and a slight smokiness. Without the meringue, the lemon stands completely alone, which requires the recipe to be near perfect. Raspberry tart. The raspberry brings something that strawberries cannot quite replicate. A deeper, more complex tartness, and a color that is almost jewel-like when arranged on cream. Most raspberry tarts follow the classic structure of a filled shell topped with whole berries, but the flavor of raspberry is strong enough to carry additional elements. Some versions include a layer of almond cream baked beneath the pastry cream, which adds a nuttiness that pairs naturally with the berry. Others use a white chocolate ganache as the base instead of crème pâtissière, softening the sharpness of the fruit with something richer. Because raspberries are delicate and release liquid quickly, these tarts are usually assembled close to the moment they are served. Blueberry tart. Blueberries behave differently from most other fruits used in tarts. When raw, they are mild, almost understated. When cooked, they deepen into something much more intense, releasing a purple juice that stains everything it touches. In tart form, they appear both ways. A raw version keeps them whole on top of cream, where they offer texture and freshness without overwhelming the other elements. A cooked version might use a blueberry compote or jam as the filling, set inside the pastry shell, and sometimes finished with a thin layer of cream on top. In North America, blueberry tarts have deep roots in regional baking, particularly in areas where wild blueberries grow close to the ground and carry more flavor than the cultivated varieties found in grocery stores. Peach tart. Stone fruits have always had a complicated relationship with pastry. They contain a lot of moisture, and that moisture can soften a crust quickly if nothing is done to protect it. Peach tarts often solve this by baking the peaches directly inside the shell, which drives off some of the liquid and concentrates the flavor. A thin spread of almond cream beneath the sliced peaches is a common choice, as almonds and stone fruits share a natural flavor connection. Both contain trace amounts of a compound that gives them a similar aromatic quality. In southern France and parts of northern Italy, peach tarts appear throughout summer as a straightforward celebration of the fruit at its best, with little more than sugar and pastry surrounding it. Kiwi Tart. Kiwi is one of the few fruits that remains firmly in the fresh category when used in tarts. It is rarely cooked or reduced, because heat softens it quickly and mutes its flavor. Sliced into thin rounds, kiwi reveals a pattern that is visually striking. Bright green with a ring of darker green and a pale center, which is part of why it became a popular garnish on French patisserie-style tarts from the 1970s onward. The fruit itself is acidic and tropical, with a flavor that sits somewhere between strawberry and melon. It pairs well with the richness of pastry cream, because the acidity cuts through the fat. On mixed fruit tarts, kiwi is often placed alongside strawberries and mandarin segments, and the combination became so common that it defined what many people picture when they think of a French-style fruit tart. Mango tart. Mango brings the tropics into a form that has European roots, and the combination works surprisingly well. The fruit is buttery in texture and intensely sweet, with floral notes that contrast with the neutral richness of crème pâtissière. In French pastry shops, mango tarts often appear as individual tartlets rather than large tarts, with thin slices of mango fanned out across the cream in a careful pattern. In other traditions, particularly in parts of Southeast Asia and the Caribbean, mango is used in tart-like pastries with local variations. coconut cream replacing dairy, or lime zest sharpening the sweetness. The fruit is ripe enough in flavor to carry a tart on its own, without needing other fruits to balance it. Fig tart. Figs have been part of Mediterranean cooking for thousands of years, and they carry that history with them. In tart form, they can appear fresh or roasted, and each treatment produces something quite different. Fresh figs sliced and arranged over cream have a gentle sweetness and a soft, almost jammy interior that needs no additional cooking. Roasted figs become more concentrated, slightly caramelized, and develop a depth that pairs well with stronger flavors like honey, thyme, or blue cheese, though in sweet tart form, honey is the more common companion. Mascarpone is often used instead of traditional pastry cream with figs because its milky richness is a closer match to the fruit's own character. Fig tarts are seasonal by nature, appearing in late summer and early autumn when the fruit is at its most abundant. Pear Tart. The Pear Tart has a long history in French baking, and its most classic form is the tarte Bourdaloue, named after a street in Paris, where it was reportedly first sold in the 19th century. It consists of poached pear halves nestled into almond cream inside a pastry shell, then baked until everything is set and golden. The poaching liquid, typically water, sugar, vanilla, and sometimes white wine, infuses the pears with flavor while softening them just enough. The almond cream, called frangipane, bakes around the fruit and holds it in place while adding its own nutty richness. This is a baked tart, unlike many fruit tarts that are assembled cold, and the warmth of the oven transforms the pear into something tender and almost custardy at its edges. Passion fruit tart. Passion fruit is one of the most intensely flavored fruits used in pastry. A small amount of juice carries enough acidity and tropical aroma to define an entire tart. It works in a similar way to lemon in a curd preparation. The juice is combined with eggs, sugar, and butter and cooked until thick, but the flavor is completely different. Where lemon is bright and sharp, passion fruit is floral and complex, with a sweetness underneath the acidity that makes it feel more exotic. Passion fruit tarts are common in Brazil, where the fruit grows abundantly and appears in desserts throughout the year. In Europe, they became more visible as tropical ingredients became easier to source, and they are now a fixture in modern patisserie alongside the more traditional options.